Break the curse and make the playoffs? That's the million-dollar question now buzzing in people's heads. Ah, the Charlotte Hornets. Mention the name, and you'll likely get one of two responses. Die-hard fans buzzing with eternal hope, or casual NBA followers snickering, "The Hornets? Aren't they that team Michael Jordan owns?" Yes, MJ does own them, or did until recently, but this team story is far more complex than a famous name on the masthead. It's a saga of heartbreak, hilarity, and occasionally hope. As we come close to the 2023-24 NBA season, there's a new air of optimism in the Hive. Could this finally be the year the Hornets make the playoffs? Let's examine their journey, painful beginnings, questionable decisions, and the glimmers of promise that might just make this season different. The Hornets entered the NBA in 1988, a simpler time when mullets were cool, a fresh-faced expansion team in a league already dominated by established franchises. The city was thrilled to have basketball, and the teal and purple jerseys quickly became a fashion staple. But unfortunately, cool uniforms didn't translate to wins. Their first season? A dismal 2062. Sure, expansion teams are supposed to struggle, but the Hornets turned losing into an art form. They lost their first game by a staggering 40 points to the Cleveland Cavaliers, setting the tone for what would become a tradition of underwhelming debuts. Still, the Hive buzzed with hope. By the early 90s, the Hornets showed signs of life. Drafting Larry Johnson in 1991 and Alonzo Mourning in 1992,
the Charlotte Hornets select Alonzo Mourning from Georgetown University.
Gave the team a dynamic duo that could compete with anyone. In 1993, they won their first playoff series, with Mourning hitting a game-winning shot against the Boston Celtics that had fans dreaming of a bright future. But, of course, this is Charlotte we're talking about. By 1995, a contract dispute led the Hornets to trade Mourning to the Miami Heat for Glenn Rice and others. While Rice was a solid player, Mourning went on to become a Hall of Famer and a defensive anchor for a Heat team that haunted the Hornets for years. Losing Mourning was like watching your ex go on to win the lottery while you're stuck in traffic. It signaled the beginning of a trend. The Hornets couldn't hold on to their stars. Johnson and Mourning were gone by 1996, traded away in moves that still spark heated debates in Hornets fandom. If you want to see an entire fan base go from love to loathing, just look at what happened in 2002. The Hornets' then owners, George Shinn and Ray Wooldridge, decided they wanted a new arena, and when they didn't get it on their terms, they packed up and moved the team to New Orleans. The move felt like a betrayal. The Hornets weren't contenders, but they had a loyal fan base that filled the Charlotte Coliseum night after night. Losing the team was salt in the wound, especially since it left the city without NBA basketball for 2 years. Charlotte eventually got a new team, but we'll get to the Bobcats later. Spoiler, it wasn't great. If you thought the early Hornets years were rough, the Bobcats era was like stepping into a basketball black hole. In 2004, Charlotte got a new team, but they weren't called the Hornets. They were the Bobcats, named after then-owner Bob Johnson. The Bobcats' early rosters were a hodgepodge of NBA misfits. There was Adam Morrison, the college phenom who struggled mightily in the pros, and Kwame Brown, whose reputation as a draft bust preceded him.
Nice step to the basket, and he'll go to the foul line. I asked him this morning.
The Bobcats hit rock bottom in the 2011-12 season when they posted a 7-59 record, the worst winning percentage in NBA history. 7 wins. That's fewer victories than fingers on your hands. It wasn't all bad, though. When the Bobcats reverted to the Hornets name in 2014, fans hoped the rebranding would spark a turnaround, and for a while, it seemed possible, thanks to Kemba Walker. Drafted in 2011, Walker became the heart and soul of the team, dazzling with clutch shots and relentless determination.
Walker, long three.
But even with Kemba putting up all-star numbers, the Hornets couldn't build a competent team around him. The roster was a revolving door of overpaid veterans. Hello, Nicholas Batum. and underperforming draft picks. Looking at you, Michael Kidd Gilchrist. The team missed the playoffs every year after that until Kimba finally left in 2019, breaking fans' hearts once again. By 2020, fans were asking, what's it going to take to turn this around? Enter Lamelo Ball, drafted 3rd overall. Lamelo arrived with hype, swagger, and a knack for passing that made jaws drop. Critics questioned whether his flashy style could translate to wins, but Lamelo quickly proved he was more than just a YouTube highlight reel. In his rookie season, Lamelo averaged 15.7 points, 6.1 assists, and 5.9 rebounds, earning Rookie of the Year honors.
It's time to announce the Kia NBA Rookie of the Year. Would it be Sacramento's Tyrese Halliburton, Minnesota's Anthony Edwards, or Charlotte's Lamelo Ball?
Suddenly, Charlotte had hope again. The team still missed the playoffs, but they were competitive, something that hadn't been said about the Hornets in years.
Lamelo has Patazzi on him. What was that? Are you kidding me?
Fast forward to the 2023 off-season. With Lamelo established as a star, the Hornets needed one more piece to complement him.
Miller! Yes!
Enter Brandon Miller.
Hornets select Brandon Miller from the University of Alabama.
The 2nd overall pick in the draft. If you're a Hornets fan, you've heard the promises before. This is the year, but this time, there's a genuine sense that it might actually be true. Why? Let's start with the roster. Lamelo Ball isn't just the best player on the team. His ability to create plays out of thin air, whether through no-look passes or impossible step-back threes, gives Charlotte an edge they've lacked for decades. Last season, Lamelo averaged 23.3 points, 8.4 assists, and 6.4 rebounds, despite injuries cutting his campaign short. If he stays healthy, he's a legitimate all-star candidate who can lead the Hornets to the promised land. What about Brandon Miller? In his lone college season at Alabama, Miller averaged 18.8 points and 8.2 rebounds, shooting a respectable 38.4% from beyond the arc. He's a versatile scorer who can stretch the floor, attack the rim, and defend multiple positions. Miller's skill set perfectly complements Lamelo's. While Lamelo thrives as a playmaker, Miller's ability to score in a variety of ways gives the Hornets a dynamic offensive duo. Think of them as Charlotte's version of peanut butter and jelly, different but made for each other. The rest of the roster is no longer a collection of players who'd struggle in a pickup game. Miles Bridges is back after a turbulent offseason, and he's eager to reclaim his spot as one of the league's most electrifying forwards. Mark Williams, the team's young center, showed promise as a rim protector and rebounder last season. Veterans like Terry Rozier bring experience and scoring punch, while PJ Washington offers versatility and toughness. This team has depth, a rare luxury for the Hornets, and the pieces seem to fit together better than ever before. Of course, this is the Hornets we're talking about, so it's fair to ask, what's the catch? Injuries are always a concern, especially for Lamelo, who's dealt with his fair share of setbacks. The team's defense, while improved, still isn't elite, and the Eastern Conference won't hand out playoff spots for free. But for the first time